This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.
The following podcast may contain swearing, some sexual references, and a huge amount of sexual tension. If you're easily offended by these, please don't listen.
Welcome to Grilled.
I want to eat Sunday roast whenever I want to eat Sunday roast, not when you want me to eat it.
I'm cooking burgers.
Oh, burgers! I hope they're not McDonald's.
And you would bend down to pick it up and then he'd fart in your face. He thought that was very, very funny.
Don't mind a bit of gangster rap if I'm driving around Torquay giving it to some,
The guy said to me, the waiter, do you want to come and see the kitchen? I said, no, not really, mate. I've seen one kitchen, I've seen them all.
Like a piece of your culinary penis in or around their mouth.
Welcome to Grilled, a podcast by the Staff Canteen. I'm Cara, editor of the Staff Canteen. This is the 6th episode in our mini-series, co-hosted by Michael O'Hare. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. If I'm honest, I'm feeling a little bit negative about the no summer holiday thing.
It's a bit of a downer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it looks pretty fucking unlikely. I mean, like last year, I was like basing my skin type off like a Cuprinol chart and just trying to based myself into some kind of oak. And now I just feel a little bit like I can see veins and not the ones that you want to see. And yeah, it's not ideal. I would have liked a bit of sun on my spine. But other than that, pretty good. Like things are starting to come together for the restaurant. I'm all right. What about you?
I'm good. And I've put my tan on out of a bottle because equally felt a little bit see-through, which is never a good feel. So let's introduce our guest. So who have we got on today, and what do people need to know about him?
So our guest today is someone that not a lot of people know this, but I think is pretty much solely responsible for my success. Like when I started off at the Blind Swine in York 8-9 years ago, something like that, this guy came down with his wife. He did a night with us. He bigged us up and he chatted about us on the right channels and stuff like that. And it gave us that kind of catapult into, I don't know what the field is, gastronomy, hospitality or something like that. We went from being unknown to known because of this guy. He's the kind of chef that you can call at any time. He picks everyone up. I slag everyone off. He always gives me the good points on him. And he's one of the nicest guys I know. Which is upsetting because he's a Geordie. So we have Kenny Atkinson from House of Tides.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
I think you're looking a million times better than you were in that John Carey photo that he took of you.
I've seen him, man. I said to myself, send me a few pictures. I'll be really good. Now I'll Instagram him. And he's like, he's like, you're trying to catch the moment of, being like worried and all that. So he took this picture and outside. I look about 60, like bald.
You know when something's like, you can tell it's been like edited because there's just shadows fucking everywhere where people don't have shadows. And I thought, fucking hell, that's the most intense. Like, because my only knowledge of you is like, even in like hard times, he's a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. Do you know what I mean?
I try to be.
Fucking hell, he'll be in the town in a week.
Yeah, I thought, oh, fucking hell, do I look that bad? To be honest, I thought obviously during lockdown, I've been trying to exercise, I've tried to be losing weight. And I thought the last few months I've started to lose quite a bit. I thought, I'm looking all right. Till I seen that picture, I thought, I look like fucking shit. But
I don't think you looked overweight, you just looked 3,000 years old.
Fossilized.
I mean, when he came here, he said to me, he was having me in all these poses. He was like, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you just stare blankly into space with your mouth open? I was like, no.
But I think what he's trying to do is, I think it's going to be good. I think he's trying to catch the moment of, of all us and the worries we've got, and he's trying to do a portrait of all these chefs in quite a dark place, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen some really good ones, but yeah, the one of me looks a bit worrying.
I was just glad when I saw your face today. I was like, oh no, it's all right. It's just normal.
Well, you look great today, Kenny, and what a nice intro from Michael. Did you realise you were so influential on his career?
It is a lovely intro, and I think going back to what Michael has said before, I wouldn't say I'm solely responsible for his success. He was going to make it anyway. I've got a couple of stories actually. I first, that's probably about 2012, 2013, Michael, I think it was. I started hearing about this guy down in York, this big head, quite like boisterous, cooking some like phenomenal food out of a pub. And I was going on Facebook. I started seeing about this guy, and no one knew about him. But I started seeing some of his food, and I'm thinking, this is really good. So I said to Abby, I said, look, I'm going to go down to York. I'm going to go to this place called the Blind Swine. I'm just going to check it out. And we just went down there. And, we knew that. Obviously, I did a bit of research on Michael before I went in. I knew he worked at Noma, and I think the time at the food he was doing at Blind Swine sort of had a lot of influence on that. But I remember just walking through the door, and it was like walking into somewhere that I've never experienced before. I think and what I mean by that is when you go to normal restaurants, you have nice soft music, or it's very, someone meets and greets, takes you to the table. You just walk through. It was like walking into like just a really cool, dark, really great tunes, great cocktails. Then we just sat down, and then Michael and a couple of these guys would just like bring a food to the table and just smashing like loads of plates of food, and it was just class. I remember the first thing that Michael served us, it was like a hot dog. The hot dog bread he used to do.
Yeah.
Me and I were like, this is fucking sick in a good way. Though it was like proper cool. It was like just deconstruct the hot dog, turn into a bread course with a little bottle of tomato sauce with it. It was just honestly, and crispy onions. And that was it. That was the start of it. And we just become sort of friends from then, talking about the social media. And I was telling all my friends, you've got to go and see this place. When I was doing like interviews with magazines, I was saying, look, I've got to go and see this place. It is amazing. This guy is something different. It's quite fresh. And you think about now, a lot of places are trying to do this like sort of quite cool vibe music in the restaurant to try and take it a different direction. You were doing that back in 2011, 2012 at Blind Swine. And Michael dropped us a text, said, look, mate, do you want to do a pop-up? I was like, yeah, fucking definitely, mate. I'd love to come down. And this is probably my favourite story of you, Michael. It was, I went down the Blind Swine during the daytime, brought a lot of stuff down. We're in the restaurant, the door's wide open on this beautiful cobble street in York, quite a touristy place, lots of like people walking around, like Americans, quite old people, whatever. So we're all in the bar area because you had like an open kitchen, didn't you? Yeah. So like me and all these chefs were cracking on prep, loads of knives in my hand, just cracking on. And I remember the music was blasting. It was this song came. It was like the Fun Loving Criminal song came on, the Scooby Snack song. Oh, yeah. and the beginning of the song where it goes, "If any use motherfucker you, I'll execute every one of you." But when that came on, it was blaring. These two little old ladies walked in, thought it was like a cafe. But at the time the music was blaring, it was like, right, freeze, this is a whole up. These two little grannies I just looked up, proper froze and shit themselves. And all I could hear was, if any of you motherfuckers move, I'm going to execute every fucking one of you. And these two little ladies literally just 360 the way around and ran out the restaurant. And I was like, pissed myself laughing. I was like, Michael, you just see what happened? And Michael was like, yeah, fuck it. But it was just, I just knew then it was you were going to be something different. And I think the industry needed something different. And I remember going on to what you just said from the very beginning, Michael, was Avril from GBM phoned me up and said, hi, Ken, do you want to do Great British Menu again? And I was like, look, I've done it twice before, had really great success of it. I don't really want to do it again unless it's maybe something different, like old chefs coming back. And she says, do you know anybody you can recommend? And I said, well, yeah, definitely, Tommy Banks. I said, actually, funny you say that. I said, check this guy out now. So there's a guy called Michael O'Hare. He's just opened his own restaurant, Man Behind the Curtain. I said, you've got to check this guy out. I said, this guy will bring something to the show that no one's ever seen. And she's like, well, what do you mean? I said, it's not just about his style of food. I think it's his style, his personality. And I said, look, go on the internet now. She Googled it on the internet. She's like, fuck me. Yes, I want to get this guy on. And when you did Great British Menu, I remember the first thing I remember seeing was when you're walking down the aisle with your snakeskin Gucci shoes on, or you had your care. And I thought, fucking, this is classes. But I think that's been you all the way through your career, though. I think even to now, you've always sort of stood out. I think you've always, not I wouldn't say not giving a fuck. I think you've just done it how you want to do it. You've done it your way, and I think you've changed the industry because of it. I think your style of food, and at that time, the style of food, everybody's on stone plates. Everyone's trying to copy Norma or on Clue, and everybody's going down these. And I think your style and your crockery and almost the minimalist, but very much art driven as well. I just think everyone tried to replicate it in a really positive way. And I think, like you said to Gareth a few weeks ago, I think you coming on the scene has also caused ripples in the industry as well, and I see that in other people's food now.
Oh, thanks, man.
Michael, look at you.
I'm just trying to fill an hour in.
Don't ask me what fuck. Don't ask me what fuck.
Oh man, honestly, the amount of stress I've had over the past few years about this question, I started really getting anxiety about who am I going to fuck, who am I going to let die, who am I going to pick. So don't ask that question.
Michael, what's your best story about Kenny? Because obviously Kenny's told you his. So
I told you I'd done zero preparation on this, and I was just going to let it flow.
Well,
the pressure. I can't cope with this level of pressure.
You never get put under pressure on these podcasts.
No, that's because I'm always in control. Now I'm not in control. I don't know what to do with myself.
So you met at the Blind Swine, because we've not discussed the Blind Swine on these at all, have we?
No.
I never made it there, even though I live near York. I never ever met you at that restaurant.
Yeah, I never made it there either. The thing is, so I'm not to plug or anything like that, but I'm writing a book at the moment, and obviously when you do that, it's retrospective. You're looking back, and I really don't like looking back. I find it a little bit disgusting. I'm really easily embarrassed by things that I've said, done, created, anything in the past, no matter how right they were at the time. It's like kryptonite to me. And the Blind Swine, like Kenny touched on it, but I was quite fresh-faced. I'd just come out of Norma, and I literally just fucking bastardized that food, like with a few bits. But weirdly, the bit that like Kenny mentioned is the bit that wasn't Norma, hot dog onion, hot dog bread and stuff like that. And that's when I opened the man behind the curtain. It's like, right, this has got to be whatever it is. I've got to view it for the paradigm of like, is it completely mine? Can I have it? Can I own it? Whether it's good, bad, or average, it needs to be a minimum of unique. And the Blind Swine wasn't. The only thing that was unique about it was the kind of setup of it. Like, I mean, we were playing Slayer at full fucking pelt at 7:00 on a Saturday night, like to the point where the speakers were hanging off the wall and people were like trying to eat the crudités or whatever. So it was unique in that sense at the time, but it was just for the sake of like sticking a finger up. It wasn't conducive to like a fine dining environment. And I'm glad I did it, but I'm not particularly proud of it, if in complete honesty.
Okay.
And I think like, we all have things that at the time we were like completely into. An ex-partner's a great example, right? At that time you think, fucking hell, this is great. Everything's wonderful. But then when you look back, you're like, like, who, not at them, but as in like, who was I? What was I that was like, that's saying these things, that's acting this way, that's just, I don't know. I get very, very embarrassed about the past.
And I think that's part of the journey there. And I think if you didn't do the Blind Swine and the cochon, remember the cochon as well? Cara, Michael rang us up and said, I've got this new little place called the Cochon. No, it wasn't a Cochon. I don't think he had a name for it at the time. He said, literally, I just want to do like simple French food. It's really small venue. He said, I haven't really got a name for it. I said, well, what's your idea? He said, well, I don't know. I might call it French as fuck. Remember that?
Yeah,
it's French as fuck. And basically the idea was I wanted to sort of just like this little restaurant. But if you're going to come, you need to bring some underwear. And I was like, what do you mean bring some underwear? He said, well, if you bring a Arby's, knickers or bras, I'll give you half price. So right, okay, then. Do you remember this? So you walked in the restaurant, and when you see like some restaurants that have like dangling lights and it looks really nice. It was people's knickers and bras hanging off the ceiling. You remember?
Yeah, I put clothes rails over the top of the floor. It was a really weird place, like checkered flooring. I don't think it looks anything like it now, but checkered flooring, and then one side of the wall I just completely wallpapered with Escoffier's fucking Repertoire de la Cuisine or something like that. Yeah, and then knickers, bras, and like underpants, all clean on strings. And I just thought like, I fucking turfed the toilet.
That's right. Your toilet was black with green turf, and the toilet was pink.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah,
pink toilet with and I put like not AstroTurf, proper fucking grass in the toilet. I thought it'd be nice to like get get your heels stuck into the grass while you're having a little yeah, and I put pens in so you could write on the walls and that. But then, like, soon after, realised that like grass needs light and water. Yeah, it was a bit disgusting, so it didn't last long. Man, I still want a restaurant like that. So I don't think they really exist in, those places that you can go any time of the day and there's next to no choice, but it's the right thing to eat at that point.
Yeah.
So like first thing in the morning, you don't want breakfast. You know what I mean? As in 7 a.m., you don't want breakfast, you want a croissant or something like that. Going into like kind of your brunchy dishes, into like that lunch setup to quiche. Maybe you want a fish soup at 5 o'clock, but you definitely don't want a big fuck off meal.
Yeah.
And I think French food lends itself so nicely to that kind of any time of the day. Just if you're a chef, just cooking almost constantly based on the time of day, like what's right for now and based on the weather. If it's nice and sunny, like put the meat down or get the barbecue out, whatever, and then open your chairs up outside and get some like nice fresh fish and keep it nice and light and open the wines accordingly. I'd still love to do that, but unfortunately, I'd want to do it really small scale and not make any money off it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It would be a passion. So like these things that are just pure passion tend to not be that profitable, I guess.
Michael, what happened to all the underwear that was hung up after you left?
That's why I got this rash under my nose. I mean, Abby's was beautifully soft. I remember.
But yeah, going back, I think you said that you don't look back. I look back at that and I can see the journey. Do you remember when we met up in York and you had this new site and the landlord fucked you over right at the last moment?
Oh yeah.
Like Carl, I've never, because I think at that time I always kept saying to Megan, you need a bigger platform. As you get the bigger platform, it's going to take you to the next level. And I remember you had this beautiful site in York, and then we went and had a look around. It was empty, and I thought, this place is going to be absolutely immense. And then the landlord pulled it right last moment and decided to use it for flats or something, I think it was.
Yeah.
And then for like weeks on end, we were talking over the phone quite a lot. And I remember saying to Abby, I said, I've never felt so bad for somebody where you've literally got someone who's got so much talent, who just needs a platform. And then Man Behind the Curtain came up, which was originally it was upstairs above Flannels in Leeds, and the spray painted walls. And I just thought, this is a platform, and I was right. I just knew once you got the platform and once people started to know who you were just going to go one way and one way only.
Michael, before we started, you were talking about food, and obviously we did say northern, but then we decided maybe it's nothing to do with being northern. But the fact that you've gone into fine dining and you never experienced any of those foods before you took that path.
Well, Kenny, what I was thinking about kind of, without being xenophobic, what we've got in common is that we're both kind of northeast working class guys.
Yeah.
That however you look at it, for a living, sell luxury. And I know that there's an accessible level to that luxury, but it's still luxury. Oysters are luxurious, caviar's luxurious, foie gras is luxurious. How have you found that journey from like kind of being, a daft lad coming out of school or whatever, into like, right, okay, it's fine dining's for me, but you didn't grow up like your kids will grow up eating good food because of you and who you are. Mm-hmm. So they'll have a completely different, and I don't know anything about your upbringing, but totally guessing that it's comparable to mine in that you didn't grow up tasting these foods, but your kids will. So how have you found like the learning curve of learning a culture, learning a class system that you weren't born into?
Yeah, I mean exactly what you're saying. And I think because obviously my upbringing was, my mum wasn't a great cook. It was pies and chips. It was eggs, beans, and that sort of stodge when you grew up. Where my mum was a single parent. She just, we didn't grow up on great food apart from when we used to go to see my grandma's at the weekend, where my grandma had allotments. You'd grow all his own vegetables, and then I would do like a roast, like a lamb, and all the family would come down, and it was like Sunday roast was like that was my luxury as a kid. And I think to be brutally honest, I think for the first 3 years of chefing, I did it because it was a job. I fell into it by accident, sort of pot washing and got into the kitchen. I think I was more drawn to the environment and the banter with the chefs rather than the food. And I think I did that for a couple of years where it was just a job. I didn't really have a passion for food. I didn't really know the luxury of food. And it wasn't until I went to, I think it was when I moved down the Midlands, I did a 2-week stage at Chester Grove now with Simon Radley. And that was the first time I'd seen lobsters, langoustines, caviar, sweetbreads, foie gras. And I was like, fuck me, what's all these things? And Simon was cooking them and I was getting the taste and I was like, my mind was just blown. I've never experienced that. And I wasn't quite sure whether I liked it or whether I didn't like it. It was just something I've never tasted before. And it was a time when, a lot of chefs was on TV, such as Gary Rose, the Roux Brothers, Mark Pierre White. And I kept hearing the word about Michelin and I wanted to work in a Michelin-starred restaurant. So at the age of 19, I moved to London. Same again, not really knowing, much about food or the luxury of food. I just knew that I wanted to try something different. And I started working at the Mandarin Oriental with Dave Nichols and Howell Jones. And I think it was there where I really started to appreciate, the luxury of fine dining. And like I said before, we're northern lads. We didn't grow up that luxury. So to start to experience, the beautiful white truffles, the black truffles, foie gras, langoustine, and cook with these delicate ingredients with an understanding of, you have to really respect these ingredients, sort of changed the way I thought about food. And obviously, when you're a chef and you work in that environment, you want to keep working in that environment and you still want to use these luxury ingredients. And I think we just carry this all the way through until where we are now, where we have our own businesses and we want to sort of offer that luxury to our guests because most of them haven't grew up with that luxury as well. So it's nice to feel like you're head and shoulders of all the other restaurants serving beautiful ingredients and hopefully that's what set us from other people where, we are adding a bit of luxury to our menus.
That's nice. Nice thought. It's almost like the way you're saying that. It's almost like that you become part, and I think this is a route for a lot of chefs. It becomes part of almost a youth club. That kind of, Anthony Bourdain, Kitchen Confidential's pirate kind of like, fuck, this is something to do.
Yeah.
It goes from that to then almost like a secret that you just gradually like discovering, and then you think, fuck.
Yeah.
At some point, I want to share that secret. At some point, I want to introduce people to that secret.
I'm very true, mate. I think you touched on it a few weeks ago with Gareth, where there's a lot of chefs who cook in this industry that haven't got a passion for food. They just do it because it's a job or it's a sport. But for me, it's like to experience all these things that I've experienced through my career. I want to pass it on to my team. I want to give them the enjoyment of working with beautiful ingredients. I want my guests to be able to experience those beautiful ingredients that we don't always get in the Northeast. So, it's trying to share that and share that enjoyment, really.
In terms of like guys that you've got coming through the kitchen, I'm aware that the landscape in Newcastle is changing now in terms of the food landscape. And you've obviously got James Close a little bit further down the road from you. But how's that been for you, getting the staff to have like the kind of knowledge that you want, given that you're not in London, you're in Newcastle, and there's not Michelin-star restaurants everywhere? Up until this year, there was only you, right?
Yeah. It's hard. And I look back to when, obviously when you work in hotels before I opened the House of Tides, and it was always a struggle to get staff. And I always said that, if I lived in the city, it would be easier. It hasn't. If anything, it's just as hard. Because like I said, the staff you're looking to employ, they've probably worked in Frankie and Benny's, or they've probably worked in local pubs. So you're trying to bring that sort of talent in where you want to, it's like trying to, you're a Premier Football Club, you want to buy the best players, but you can't because that talent isn't there, but you want to compete with the best. So it's been a hard few years where a lot of our guys were kids when we brought them on, and to be honest, touch wood, the majority of my team have been with me since the very start, which is quite a rare thing in this industry these days. But I've always tried to promote within. I've always tried to grow within, and I think because of that, the talent I've had is grown with myself. And when we bring in new guys now, they don't have that Michelin-star experience, but I look for attitude now, and I think, like I said before, now we have Raby Hunt, which is a 2-star restaurant, which means that my guys have got somewhere to go and eat and try to learn from what he's doing. And obviously this year, Alex at Yem's just got a star, which is another phenomenal restaurant. So same again, their guys are coming to us, and now my guys are going to there to eat. So they're starting to see a range of different things. And now I'm hoping that when one of their staff wants to come work here, you know, they're going to bring a wealth of knowledge with them and maybe help make us stronger, and vice versa. Many of my staff go to there, they're going to make them stronger. And I think, like you say, in the next few years, I do see a lot more high-end restaurants opening up. Newcastle, it's very much an untapped market, and the more good restaurants that open up, the more it's going to attract staff to stay in the Northeast. Because like when we were young, there was nothing in the Northeast to work. We had to go to London or outside of London just to get a decent career.
Yeah, I think you know, when we were young, in terms of, I guess we're touching on that north-south divide thing, and I don't necessarily see that as something that's a social issue, more of a geographical issue. So I don't think like everyone in London's like fucking northerners or vice versa. But there is undoubtedly like pros and cons to both. And when we were growing up, I just look at, you always have a little bit of romance when you look back at restaurants and how they were. And I won't name this restaurant because I don't want to cause it any pain, but there's a restaurant that around my area of growing up, like in the Teesside area, that I'd always looked upon as like kind of the gilded truffle, you know, that kind of that top end restaurant that I went to a couple of years ago, I think, with my mum. It was like a nice place to meet, and it was terrible. And I thought, fucking hell, what's happened to this? And I looked back, and it turns out it was always like that, you know. And it's just my memory of it, because like the pool that I had to choose from as restaurants when I was a kid, you know, we were like hyped over like, oh my God, that place has got 2 rosettes. You know what I mean? My mum's taking me to this place that's got 2 rosettes, man. Do you know what that means? That means that they're dipping cake gooseberries in fucking icing sugar. Like, or whatever, 2 rosettes. And sorry, you know, I don't mean anything like anyone with 2 rosettes.
I want to know where you're talking about.
No, it doesn't.
I'll edit it out. It's fine. I'm just interested.
Yeah. If you're going to edit it out, I'm talking about.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew that's what you were talking about.
It was like, yeah, it was the same in Newcastle. They kind of took over. Like, we're like,
yeah, massive, yeah. It
was always shit. It was always shit because, like, while we were down there, Nico Ladinas was fucking cleaning up in London, and we're eating our fucking fistulas like a couple of daft cunts in the Northeast, thinking we're class. You know what I mean? Like turning like blueberries into different geometric shapes and that, and putting them on smoked salmon for utterly no reason. Yeah. On the plus side is that I feel like it's a much bigger, more open world now, right? Because localism's almost died out in the, your Instagram is just on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just like anyone in London, Instagram is just on Instagram. So it's the same location in a modern kind of media-driven world. The location loses relevance a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's accessible. And what we've got in our favour, and I know how much rent you pay, Kenny, and you know how much I pay, so it's not like we pay high rents for our class.
Yeah.
But can you imagine the rent bill that you'd have or I'd have in London? It's astronomical. Like, there's just fucking no chance of it. So we have a much better opportunity of survival because food has the same value. You know, if each of us were open our restaurants in London, we'd be charging the same price or thereabouts. I go to friends' restaurants in London, they're pretty much the same price. You know what I mean? At 1 star in London, it's pretty much the same price as you or I, maybe a little bit more expensive, but the overheads are through the roof. So I think the north, north of London, I'll say, has got a lot to look forward to in terms of if you want an opportunity, there's an opportunity to do it without the risk of almost imminent failure.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think probably for the first time with this pandemic, I think probably the best place to probably be for a business is outside London now. And you know, you look at furlough, for example, it covers 8% of your salary up to 30k. How many guys are in London are probably on about 80, 90, 100k a year, or they'll probably have a huge rent, or 30k for them is not going to even touch this. That's like almost like half their wage, or even quarter of some of these guys' wages. So London must be a scary place right now. And if you have a business, like I say, I'll speak to Claire and Cole quite a bit, and you know, looking at what their guys are doing and their overheads in Kensington, Notting Hill must be scary. I mean, seriously scary. You know, I know how much rent I pay, and it's scary being in the Northeast paying that, but it's manageable where we are. you know what I mean? It's I can make it a success. If we have a quiet period, it's like, yeah, shit, it's quiet. It's not too bad, but it's manageable. Look, imagine if you were in London and you had a quiet week, it must be absolutely petrifying. That week's worth of shit revenue could make the difference of your survival down in London. So, but yeah, I know where you come from with that, and I think there's an opportunity for restaurants north of London at the moment.
Totally off subject. What's been a common thread with everyone that we've spoke to on these podcasts, all the chefs, is that they've massively kind of, although you've got all the concerns and all the worries financially from a business perspective, you've also got kind of an unheard of amount of time with your family. Like, how's that been for you, balancing that? Because it's fairly new, isn't it, to not have the restaurant to worry about so much?
I think I've enjoyed it, but it's been hard. And I think anybody who says it's been easy when you've got kids, you know, it's hard enough having the kids for 6 weeks over the 6 weeks holidays, you know, trying to keep them occupied and busy, but to have them for 3-4 months and trying to keep them occupied and trying to do homeschooling and you know, not being able to take them to places that you would normally take them to, whether it's a play park or the swimming pool or whatever, because everything's locked down. And it was hard because they didn't understand, why can't I go to the Metro Centre? Why can't I go with my friends? Why can't I go to the swimming pool? But at the same time, you know, we utilise this time to really do things as a family, obviously putting the business aside, you know, just doing a lot more, going to walks on the beach, you know. It's really weird, but it's like almost getting to know your kids a bit better in the sense, because obviously as chefs, you know yourself, you'll get in the morning, you'll give them the breakfast, we'll go to work, we'll come home at night time, they're probably in bed. We might get to spend 2 days with them the weekend, either Sunday or Saturday, if I get a Saturday off. And you've sort of got activities, but then you're back to that normal routine again. So having them every day for like 3-4 months solid and trying to sort of, you know, get to know their little quirks a bit more, and same with me and Abby as well, you know, spending that time with Abby that we never normally spend has been really good. And looking at the positives, you know, we utilised lockdown as best we can, try to keep our mental health strong, because we need something to be focused on. And at the time, the restaurant was just shut, just losing money, bills come through left, right, centre. So we needed a diversion or something to keep ourselves thinking about other things. So we started to like go for long walks, exercising, and it's been really good, mate.
There's maybe a little bit of a divide in the age of children. I think, like, if you've got a toddler during lockdown, and this is a broad statement, it's a lot easier than if you've got a kid like my son. Gareth's little boy doesn't need homeschooling, so we can just mess about, you know what I mean? It's get the bikes out and fuck about. But there's real work, isn't in the homeschooling. Cara, your kids are like a similar age to Kenny's, I believe, where they require a lot of your attention.
Yeah.
Like as in educational attention, rather than just playing about. So I think like Lee Tiernan, his kids needed homeschooling and stuff like that. Whereas I just dodged a bullet a little bit with the age thing. Thank God, because I'd be terrible at it. I was bad enough doing my own homework, let alone someone else's.
It definitely makes you question how intelligent you are when you can't work out an 8-year-old's homework. I've got to admit it.
It's a strange thing. I mean, not to get too broad on the subject, but I think that school in general at the moment is way off the rails, in that, you know, when we went to school, we were taught that, you know, we wouldn't have a calculator in our pocket in the real world, and you wouldn't have this in the real world, and you need to know, and everything's based on the retention of knowledge. But that's not how life works now. You can get knowledge off, you know, the 3 devices that we're using to have this conversation. You can pick up any amount of knowledge in the world instantly. So it should be about kind of retrieving that knowledge rather than retaining it. And I think pushing creativity a little bit further for what it's, you know, that got a bit deep, didn't it? Anyway.
I mean, I can instantly take you out of that with one of the questions I got sent on Instagram that someone wanted to ask you, if you want. That's not deep at all.
Oh yeah, go for it.
How much dog shit do you think you could put in a brownie before someone could taste it?
So I've never tasted dog shit, but I quite like. I don't mind licking bum bums a little bit, you know, like just the human bum bum. I'll be honest, this can be an open conversation, right? But I don't do it because I like the taste of it. It's just while I'm down there, you think, this is a bit naughty, isn't it? And You know that there's a taste there that's different to that of like, it's different and it's not poo-poo, but it's like, that is where poo-poo comes from. So I've got a rough idea of the kind of like savoury notes that are there. But to put poo-poo in a brownie, how much I think you could do until someone can taste it? It's going to be the smell first. I reckon if you're serving that brownie cold, you can get away with it a lot easier than if you're serving it warm. I think if you serve it warm, it'll be like, ooh, do you know what I mean? Let's go 5%. I reckon 5% dog shit to answer the question. As long as it's brown, if it's white, oh my God, what if you get white dog shit and grate it
on top? Freeze dry like ice and sugar.
I'm not going to get another booking for the restaurant ever again.
I mean, you went really deep with that. I didn't think that you put so much thought into that there.
It's a weird thing, isn't it? Because poo-poo is disgusting, but sometimes it's totally acceptable. And it's totally acceptable for me, 2 cases. One, when I got a dog and he was brand new, like still had the cling film on and the bubble wrap and that. And then the only thing that came out of his bum is what I put in his mouth. As in like the dry dog food. So you put the dog food in and like a machine, not a penis, it comes out of his bum at the end. So picking that up to me wasn't like disgusting. It's just like, oh, well, I put that in the front, it comes out the back end. And the same with a baby is like, oh, well, it gets milk in the mouth, then it goes through a very clean digestive system and it comes out the back. So it almost doesn't matter when you're cleaning your own child's shit or picking your own dog shit up. Not that bad compared to if I had to clean someone else's shit up or pick someone else's dog shit up. I've got something important I need to say about shit. I want it logged so that in years to come, people can say that guy was a fucking visionary. I want you to imagine, hypothetical situation is that there's some poo-poo on the floor and I pick it up and I just put a little bit of it on your hand. And you go, oh my God, what are you doing? You just put shit on my hand. I say, it's okay. We've already got a solution to clean this. Here's some dry paper. Just wipe it with that dry paper and it'll all go away and it's fine. That's toilet roll. Toilet roll is fucking disgusting, isn't it? Think about it. You're just drying your ass with like dry paper. How is that clean? If that was on any other part of your body, there's no way you'd accept it. I want a fucking jet wash up there, mate. I want one of them roller things like a car garage, just riding it. But like dry paper on the anus. Come on, mate, that's not clean. You wouldn't accept it, would you? On your hand, you'd be like, no, I'm gonna have to get some fairy on that or some bleach or something.
So you're saying that toilet paper is very far behind compared to where we are with everything else in life.
I don't mind a wet wipe. We've got them machines in the toilets here that fuck you. You know them ones that come out and squirt up your bum? The Japanese ones. And they're miles better. And if
I've actually got a video of that of myself when I went to your restaurant. It was class. I was like, oh, I want to go twice. I think I went to the toilet, about 4 times that time I went for the night at your place. I just kept going to the toilet. It was just, I kept saying to, I think it was Danny I was with at the time. I said, Danny, mate, you've got to go to the toilets, mate. It's fucking brilliant.
And it really, really, like, it gets it bang on. Like,
yeah.
How do you find that spot so well?
Come back, Michael. You'd gone off there.
Food, but the ingredients there aren't they wonderful?
Kenny, we talked about, just to go away from the shit conversation.
Yeah.
Michael said to you about obviously food and your upbringing with food, and then where you are now. When you opened House of Tides, did everyone understand what you were doing with House of Tides, or did you have the odd guest that came in and was like, I'm not paying for that, that's too small, that's, you know, because I mean, we are in the north, we like a big portion. I think I can say that because I'm northern. Did you ever have that kind of issue when you opened House of Tides?
Yeah, probably until the Michelin came. I think we had that non-stop. I think everyone has an idea what a restaurant should be. So when we opened up House of Tides, you know, I wanted to do something that was true to what we did where I've worked before. We wanted to do fine dining and obviously wanted to do tasting menus and offer that experience. And you know, when we first opened up, we were okay. We weren't great, but we were like finding our feet. But we were getting people coming in, or where's the menu, or to taste the menu, or I don't want to taste menu. I just want to have 3 courses. I just want 1 course. I want 2 courses. Where you do chips, and it took a long time trying to convince people all the time, and it was hard. And like you say, we got a lot of good comments. We got a lot of bad comments, and it came to the point where I can't satisfy. I think you've probably talked about this before, Michael. We can't satisfy everybody, and it was hard. And it took until we got the star for people to actually stand up and go, "Oh my God, yeah, I can see what they're trying to achieve." Because when we opened up House of Tides, people were saying we weren't going to last. There's no way of finding a restaurant doing taste menus charging £95 a head is going to last in Newcastle. And you start to listen to those comments. You think, shit, are we making a mistake? We dropped our pricing. We tried to reduce the menu. We started doing choice of main courses. We started doing 2-2-2 for lunch. And I started to sort of change what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to do as a restaurant, to try and satisfy a lot of people in the first few years. I think when the start came, it gave us the confidence to say, no, this is where we want to go. This is what we want to do. This is what we want to create as a restaurant. Because if we don't do this, then we're just going to be no different to, say, Cafe 21 or Broadchar or other restaurants in Newcastle, where, all good restaurants in their own right, but we wanted something that was a bit more different, a bit more of a special occasion. And you've been before, Cara. It's a mad building. It's an old building. Trying to create something that was quite different took a long time.
And any standout comments, requests from guests during that time who didn't understand what you were doing?
I think we did Valentine's once, and we did a 6-course taste menu with Valentine's, and this guy came in and he just didn't want the menu. He's like, I want steak. And we're like, well, we don't have steak. And he's like, well, I want steak. I was like, well, we don't have steak. He's like, well, I want steak. And it's like, what can you do? And you can't offer everything to everybody. And we're trying to be a restaurant that is, driven by produce. We want to be responsible for our produce. We don't want these big a la carte menus where things are stuck in the fridge for days on end. We want a menu that is getting replenished every day and fresh and vibrant. And even to some point, you're never ever going to create a menu that everyone loves, but that's the beauty of going out and eat. Sometimes you're going to have a great menu, sometimes you might not have a great menu. We don't deliberately go out to cook shit food. It just might not be to your taste, and we do try. And yeah, it's in the Northeast. It's a hard mentality in the Northeast. People like big portions, they want value for money. But I think we're slowly over the years starting to change that philosophy and people's expectations of it, and people know what we're about now and what they're going to expect when they come to House of Tides. And it took I think we're 6 years old now. It took a long time to get to that point.
I grew up in Middlesbrough, and we were always told, maybe you can tell me if I'm right or wrong on this or what the future is, that in Newcastle they have black pudding instead of wedding cake, underneath the icing as you cook through it, it's black pudding. Is that true? Do you think that'll ever change?
I've never heard that. I've never heard that. I don't know many people in the Northeast when growing up that I went to weddings, because a lot of people in the Northeast just had kids, didn't get married.
Yeah, we always call black pudding Geordie wedding cake, and I didn't know if it was a real thing. And I've got another question. It's food related. It's not comical in any way. If there's something that already exists that you could have invented, in the same terms of sometimes you hear a song and you think, fuck, I wish I'd written that. What would be your one piece of food that if you could have had, fuck, I wish that was Kenny Atkinson's idea. I wish that was his invention.
Anything. Is it food?
If you want help, mine is the flying saucers. Them sweets, flying saucers.
Oh, the way for the paper with the sherbet in the middle.
They didn't exist, and I brought them out as a petit four. People would be like, "This guy is a fucking genius." Turns out they're a penny.
Oh, I think if you're going to do sweets, I think probably I'll go that's a good one. Probably the Coca-Cola bottles.
Oh yeah, heavy ones.
Yeah, with covered in sugar, but I suppose they're like PDFs now, aren't they?
Might be a bit controversial, but I like them sherbet things with the licorice stick in.
Yeah, a chew.
And it's got the licorice stick. I don't really like licorice, but I like the fact I can dip it in sherbet.
But how do you eat them again?
Do you know what I did once?
It's the double dipping, isn't it? As I keep going in and
when I was a kid, I wanted to see if there was any left at the bottom of it, and I did that. And I got sherbet. I did that, poured it, looked into the tube. And it went in my eye, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Did you want another question from Instagram?
Yeah.
Stog, marry, avoid, Mary Berry, Delia Smith, and Prue Leith.
Oh.
Kenny, I think you should go first, actually.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll go first, but why would someone ask that question?
Is that from Prue Leith?
Yeah.
So, Prue Leith, Delia Smith, and Mary Berry, you have to snog, marry, avoid. Whatever one I'm going to pick, I'm going to get shit over. I'll say snog, Mary Berry. Yeah, why not? Marry Prue Leith, because I know she's got a lot of money. And avoid Delia Smith. Just because I don't like Norwich.
I was going exactly the same. Exactly the same.
So we're in agreement on that one.
Yeah, 100% Prue Leith, because like she's proper lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she is, and she's
Well,
minted.
nice. Mary Berry, because like there is something sexy about her. I know she's a bit too old for me, but there is like something. I'm sure there's a scenario. Like I always think for everyone there's a scenario, no matter like how attracted or not attracted you are to them. There's always some kind of like perfect sexual scenario that I like to kind of imagine. So like, for example, for me and Kenny, if there was a perfect sexual scenario, it would maybe like we were in the back of a bus or something like that together, and we'd been drinking during the day, and I fall asleep a little bit like that, and he ends up just taking it, and I fall asleep a little bit on his lap, but because my face is a bit warm, he gets just a little bit of a hard on, and I can feel it in my cheek, just a little bit. And that's as far as it goes. And I'm sure there's a situation in Mary Berry. Maybe it's like just simple as like a little shoulder rub, and I've got an open neck shirt on, and she just like slides her hand down a little bit onto my chest. That's on, just gives it a little scratch. You know, just nothing too perverse, just something like warm and yeah. Whereas with Prue, I think would get on really well. Like we'd share the labor of like kind of looking after the house and stuff like that. I believe she could bring something to the table, and I would like support her and everything like that.
Oh, that's lovely. Michael, did you have some questions for Kenny?
Because I knew, well, I feel a bit guilty now because I know that he's prepared, so I'm going to go with him anyway. He's prepared for the shagging one, haven't you, Kenny?
Sort of.
2 chefs in the UK at the moment, Kenny.
Oh, right.
You have to shag one. Whichever one you don't shag dies.
Right. What, favourite chefs or just any chef?
No, favourite chefs. You can't just kill people willy-nilly.
And that's including you as well, or
If you
can't include you?
I'll take it for the team.
Well, I'll go on. For me, I'll pick the 2 most exciting chefs. Because I was thinking long and hard about this because there's so many good chefs in this country now. Paul Ainsworth, Tommy Banks, James Cursor, Raby Hunt. There's loads of good chefs in the moment, but I thought I'll pick who I believe are the 2 most exciting chefs cooking probably some of the best and most exciting food at the moment. That is Michael from the Greenhouse in Ireland. Yeah. And yourself.
Oh.
And not to put you on there. You know how I've been a massive supporter of what you've been doing for a long, long time. And I think when, like you said the same thing about Gareth, where you see people changing their food because they exist, and I see that with some of your food as well. And I think you're changing the way the dining scene is, and you're putting your stamp on it and doing what you want to do. And with Michael in Ireland, it's some of the most beautiful food I'm seeing on Instagram and on Twitter. It looks phenomenal. So they're the 2 chefs I'm going to pick.
Thank you. Not to put too soft a note on it, but I agree with the Michael thing. It's like him and Alex Dilling, I think, were just
immense.
Yeah, almost like cloud-like. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like I ate at the greenhouse, at Alex's greenhouse.
Yeah, me too.
Just before it closed, just before like the lockdown thing, as in days before, and it was just phenomenal. And it just looks like, because normally with food like that, you think, God, there's been hands all over it to get it to look this way.
Yeah.
And it just looks completely untouched by human hand. It just looks like almost like a 3D print of food, almost. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't look like someone's been like bang, 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 even though they definitely have to get it to that stage. It just looks angelic. I'm going to go with angelic.
Yeah, it's a good word, that.
Oh, you're shagging.
Oh, the pressure.
Or you can, I tell you what, I'll throw in an option. You can shag us both and we all die in some kind of class death pact.
Yeah, that's great. So I'll shag his both then.
Nah, nice, man.
And hopefully some of that culinary brilliance will rub off on us.
Right, I think that is we're going to finish there. Kenny, thank you so much for being such a good sport. I really, really enjoyed chatting to you. Michael,
my pleasure.
A pleasure as always.
Cheers, Kenny. Thanks, man.
Anytime, guys. Speak to you all soon.
We hope you enjoy listening to Grilled as much as we enjoy recording it. If you want to catch up on past episodes, they are all available now. Just search for Grilled by the Staff Canteen where you normally get your podcasts. And if you want to help us keep bringing you the content you love, you can contribute from as little as £1. Just head to thestaffcanteen.com to find out how.
This episode of Grilled is sponsored by Rationale, your leading provider in multifunctional hot food preparation equipment. Register now for a free Rationale live demo at www.rationale-online.com.